Have you ever sat by the window in the afternoon sun, sipping your tea, and suddenly felt like the world had just quieted down too much? The house feels still. The phone doesn't ring as often. The days stretch a little longer than they used. So if you felt that, you're not alone and you're not imagining things. There comes a time, especially after 80, when life slows down in ways we didn't expect. And one of the hardest things to face is a kind of loneliness that creeps in quietly. Not just the kind that happens when no one is around, but the deeper kind, the one that makes you feel a little invisible, even when you're surrounded by people. Let's be honest, aging isn't all bad. There's wisdom, freedom, time to reflect. But there are also a few tough realities we don't always talk about, especially when it comes to loneliness. It's not just about feeling sad. It's about what that loneliness can do to your mind, your body, your spirit. And if we don't face it head on, it can steal the joy from the years we've worked so hard to earn. That's why this conversation matters, because there is life after 80, a real, meaningful life. But to live it fully, we have to understand the truths that come with it. And one of those truths is this: loneliness can hit harder than we ever expected. One reason loneliness becomes more intense with age is that the social circles we once took for granted begin to shrink. Friends pass away, family members get busy, health issues make it harder to get out and about. Maybe you used to walk to the cafe on the corner or attend church every Sunday, but now even the smallest outings feel like a challenge. And while the world moves fast outside your door, you're left wondering if it even notices you're still here. That feeling isn't weakness, it's human. What makes it even tougher is that sometimes we're too proud to say anything. We think, I don't want to be a burden, or I've always been independent, I can handle this, and sure, strength matters. But even the strongest among us need connection. That's not weakness. That's what it means to be alive. Another truth is that technology, while it connects so many people, can actually make you feel more alone if you're not part of it. Everyone's texting, video calling, sharing updates on social media. And if that's not your world, it can feel like the conversations are happening without you. You're left out, not because anyone meant to exclude you, but because the way people connect has changed, and you're not sure how to jump in. That feeling of being left behind, it's real, but it doesn't have to be permanent. Now, loneliness doesn't always look like sadness. Sometimes it looks like a lack of motivation. You stop calling people back. You turn down invites. You stop planning for tomorrow. Not because you're depressed necessarily, but because the joy of anticipation, the thing that makes each day feel exciting, just isn't there anymore. And when every day starts to feel the same, you stop expecting anything different. But here's something I want you to hear loud and clear. It doesn't have to stay that way. Feeling lonely doesn't mean you are alone. And facing these realities isn't about giving in to them. It's about reclaiming your power over them. Because even now, especially now, you have more control over your experience than you think. Let's take a closer look at how these emotional shifts affect not just our hearts, but our health, our energy, and our desire to engage with the world again. You see, loneliness doesn't just live in your thoughts. It can live in your body too. When you're alone more than you're not, your body starts to respond. Maybe your sleep isn't what it used to be. Maybe you feel more tired, even after doing very little. Your appetite changes, your memory slips, your motivation fades. Science is starting to confirm what the heart has always known. Loneliness carries a physical weight. It increases stress hormones, weakens the immune system, and raises the risk of conditions like heart disease, high blood pressure, and even cognitive decline. But it's not all bad news. Awareness is the first step to doing something about it. When we understand that loneliness has physical consequences, it reminds us that taking care of our social and emotional health is just as important as eating well or getting some movement into our day. Just as we wouldn't skip a meal or ignore a doctor's appointment, we shouldn't ignore the importance of meaningful connection. Now, here's something else that creeps up on many people after 80, being surrounded but still feeling lonely. Maybe you live with family. Maybe the nurse checks in every morning. Maybe neighbors wave when they pass by. But still, something feels empty. That's because loneliness isn't about how many people are around. It's about whether you feel seen and understood. You can be in a room full of people and still feel like no one really hears you. That kind of emotional loneliness is perhaps the most difficult. You might smile through conversations. You might say you're fine when you're not, but inside, you're aching for someone to really ask how you are and mean it. To listen, not just out of politeness, but because they truly care. And if that kind of connection has been missing for a while, it can start to feel like something you'll never get back. But here's the truth. That depth of connection doesn't have to disappear with age. It just looks different now. Maybe it's a phone call with someone who really gets you. Maybe it's writing letters again. Maybe it's finding a group, online or in person, where you can share, laugh, and even grieve together. Connection doesn't always look like it used to, and that's okay. The important thing is that it still exists and it's still worth reaching for. Another reality many face, but don't talk about, is the way society starts to turn its eyes away from older people. It's subtle, but it's there. Conversations pass over you. Waiters speak to the person you're with instead of you. People assume you're not interested in learning new things. You might hear things like, "At your age, just take it easy." And slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to internalize that message. You start believing that your time for growing, exploring, or even mattering is over. Let me tell you right now, that's a lie. A quiet, dangerous lie. You have value that doesn't fade with age. In fact, the older you get, the more value you carry. Because you've lived, you've seen, and you know. You're not here just to sit quietly in the background. You're here because you still have something to offer. Whether that's a story, a smile, or the strength to simply keep showing up. Purpose is powerful. It doesn't need to be grand or dramatic. It just needs to be real. It can be as simple as having something to look forward to each day. A project, a conversation, a walk around the garden, a promise you make to yourself and keep. The moment you feel like you matter again, even in a small way, loneliness begins to lose its grip. That's one of the most brutal realities about aging loneliness. It tricks you into thinking your days are behind you. It whispers, "What's the point?" But here's the thing. If you woke up this morning, you have a point. You're still breathing, still thinking, still capable of connection, joy, and even adventure. And that matters. Sometimes rediscovering purpose starts with reaching out instead of waiting for someone to reach in. Maybe that means calling a friend you haven't spoken to in a while, even if it's been years. Maybe it's volunteering. Your time. Yes, even from home. You could knit for newborns, read to children over the phone, or write letters to veterans. Technology has made the world smaller, and there are people out there who need what you can give. You might just need a little help getting started, and that's okay too. But let's talk about one more reality that often goes unspoken: grief. By the time we reach 80, we've said goodbye to more people than we care to count. Partners, siblings, best friends, neighbors, sometimes even children. The kind of loneliness that comes with that kind of loss is unlike any other. It's deep, quiet, and ever-present. And if no one talks about it, you start to feel like you're supposed to just move on. But grief isn't something you move on from. It's something you carry. It becomes part of you. And carrying it alone only makes it heavier. So talk about them. Share their names. Tell their stories. Write about them. Because remembering those you loved is not what makes you lonely. It's forgetting how to love life again that does. You are allowed to grieve and still grow. You are allowed to miss people and still welcome new ones in. You are allowed to feel joy, even after deep sadness. And maybe that's the most courageous thing of all, to keep choosing life even when it's quiet or even when it hurts, even when no one else seems to notice. If no one has told you lately, you're still important. You're still here for a reason. And yes, this stage of life comes with challenges that can feel heavy and unrelenting. But within those challenges is also an invitation to live with intention, to connect in new ways, and to show the world that growing older doesn't mean fading away. Take a moment and think about one thing, just one, that brings you a little spark. A memory, a favorite song, a person's face. Hold on to that. Let it remind you of who you are and how much your presence still matters. And if that spark feels dim right now, that's okay. You're not broken. You're not too late. You're just in a season that needs warmth, light, and a little more care. Start small. One smile, one call, one walk, one story. That's how life keeps moving, one connection at a time.